They told us it was freedom, an infinite circle of birth, death, and rebirth, a gift handed down by saints and sages. Yet for many, this wheel became a prison. Imagine a vast stone wheel turning at the center of the cosmos, its rim lined with countless lives. Each spoke connects a soul to its past and future, day after eternal day. And at the hub sits karma, stern as a jailer, vigilant as a judge. Listen to the whisper of the wheels turning, a slow, grinding chant that echoes through every heartbeat, every breath you ever drew. At its first revolution, you burst into the world as a newborn, bright eyes, open hands, the first gasp of life, full of promise. Yet even as you learned to walk, the wheel began to turn again, drawing you ever closer to your next form. Perhaps you became a scholar in a land of scholars, consumed by books and parchments, or a warrior beneath storm-dark skies, sword singing in your hand, or yet an animal spirit, running through forests of memory. Each life a lesson, each lesson a debt. The more you learned, the more weight you accrued. For every kindness, a favor owed. For every cruelty, a scar to carry. And so the wheel spun on. They say the Sanskrit word samsāra means wandering, but wandering can be liberation. Here, it became endless pursuit, no resting place, no final home. Reflect on your own burdens, the guilt that follows you into sleep, the desire that haunts your dreams. In each waking moment, the wheel reminds you, you are not free. Across the desert of time, priests and poets spoke of escaping this cycle, moksha, nirvana, release. Yet each path demanded rigor as brutal as any monastery's vow, asceticism until flesh withers, meditation until mind fractures, rituals until the very self dissolves. And even when those rare few claimed liberation, they vanished into some formless light, leaving whispers behind like broken vows. Their stories became legends, both inspiration and warning. For what is a gift that you cannot refuse? What is freedom when it shackles you to a destiny spun by unseen fingers? Hear the clank of chains forged by belief, chains that bind even the highest soul to the wheel's cruel circumference. In the darkness between revolutions, some dared to question, must we spin forever? A voice slipped through temple walls, echoing among statues of gods. Is there a way off the wheel? Yet every answer returned to the same place. More practice, more lifetimes, more debt to repay. The trap turned ever tighter until the wheel was no longer a path of growth, but a cage whose bars bore the names of all your past selves. And so the cycle continued, life, death, life, or so it seemed. Breathe in the hush that follows the endless chant. For the trap of reincarnation is this: to believe in the circle as an eternal truth, when perhaps the true freedom lies in stepping off altogether. Ahead lies the origin of the myth, how the wheel began its merciless turn, and why the first promise of rebirth concealed the cruelest bondage of all. The journey has only begun. They called it a whisper at first, a murmur drifting through temple courts, carried on desert winds. The notion that life might not end in one body, but begin anew in another. In lands cradled by the great rivers, the earliest priests carved tales of cyclical rebirth into stone. In the Indus, they spoke of a flame, Agni's fire kindled at every death, only to leap forth again, igniting a new life. In the sands of Egypt, magicians inscribed on tomb walls the promise of Ka and Ba reuniting at dawn, so that the soul could rise once more. Listen to the echo of chisels on basalt, each strike resonating with hope and something else. Across the Aegean, philosophers learned of transmigration from Pythagoras, whose voice rang in white marble halls. Souls move like rivers, flowing from life to life, learning with each turn. His disciples inked the teaching on papyrus scrolls, binding doctrine with devotion. Yet these seeds of belief grew entwined with power. Kings claimed that their throne was sanctified by countless reigns-past selves guiding present decisions. Priests taught that every soul carried debts from prior existences, debts to the gods, debts to the community, debts to itself. And the more one believed, the tighter the snare of obligation. Feel the weight of those debts, invisible chains slipping round the ankles of every living being. In distant temples beneath Ashoka's rule, stone carvings depicted souls climbing Yaksha's ladders toward higher realms, while in the Grand Library of Alexandria, scholars argued whether the wheel turned ever upward or circled back in endless loops. Every culture added its own layer, heavenly realms for the virtuous, shadowy abysses for the wicked, but the core remained: life, death, rebirth. Over centuries, this mosaic of beliefs crystallized into a system: Sanskrit sutras, Vedas, Upanishads texts that codified the journey of the soul. They taught of 13 heavens, 3 hells, and countless domains in between, each visited on the soul's passage. The aspirant learned to calculate the fail-fruit of action so as to plant seeds of a better return. Yet with each addition came complexity, and with complexity, confusion. Prophets arose, decrying the wheel's cruelty. One insisted that the cycle was divine mercy, endless chances to learn and grow. Another denounced it as a cosmic prank, an illusion trapping consciousness in an endless masquerade. Hear the clash of voices across the eons. Reincarnation is liberation, cried one. No, it is enslavement, thundered another. In the silent sanctuaries of Shaivite ascetics, hermits shaved their heads and sat in mountain caves for decades, shopping for moksha through austerity. In the lotus courts of Buddhist monasteries, monks gazed upon skulls and meditated on impermanence, believing that insight could shatter the wheel's rim. Yet most adherents, farmers, weavers, artisans, simply accepted the system, neither questioning nor rebelling, but living within its familiar orbit. Picture the life of a simple villager, born beneath rice paddies, married at 12, dying under swaying palms, only to return as a laborer's child, or a paddy bird, or a stone on the river's bed. It was in these everyday rebirths that the trap took root, so subtle that few perceived it. A mother mourning at her child's grave might comfort herself: she will return. A man enduring poverty could console: next life I shall be rich. Yet hope became shackles, desire became debt, and every aspiration bound the soul more tightly to the wheel. Feel the irony in those consolations. They promised release, yet wove the cords of expectation ever tighter. And so, from the delta of the Nile to the banks of the Ganges to the ruins of Rome, the myth spread its roots deep in human yearning. It offered purpose for the suffering, promise for the fallen, and an answer for the unknown. But like all powerful myths, it concealed the cost: the endless return, the perpetual striving, the fear that one could never be done. Let the ancient stones of temple and tomb speak in their silence, for they carry the memory of countless souls, each reborn, each trapped, each turning on the endless wheel. Ahead lies the true mechanism of bondage, karma's hidden chain sand, the moment when the chains first clamped shut. The myth's origins are only the prelude to the trap itself. They spoke of karma as cosmic justice, a gentle hand guiding each soul back to balance. Yet beneath its surface lay a snare more subtle than iron shackles. Imagine your every thought, every word, every deed etched upon threads of light. With each kindness, a golden filament is woven. With each slight, a dark strand is spun. These filaments twist and braid around your soul like vines in a garden, beautiful in promise, yet binding in their grip. Feel the tug of those threads, each one a reminder that no action goes unseen. At birth, you inherited not only your parents' blood, but the weight of their debts. Their anger becomes your burden, their compassion your blessing. Generations stack one upon another, a tower of obligations rising into the sky. And still the wheel turns, demanding payment in lives yet to come. In Sanskrit, karma means action, but action implies consequence, and consequence implies liability. The wheel's counselor, the god Yama, watches from his court, tallying each score, credit and debit recorded in celestial ledgers that never close. Hear the silent ticking of those cosmic registers, always watching, always counting. Consider a farmer who steals a handful of grain to feed his hungry child. His act, born of love, becomes a debt he will return, perhaps as his own great-grandchild, born into famine, forced once again to choose between survival and sin. Consider a teacher who lies to spare a student's feelings. Her gentle falsehood blooms into confusion, rippling through future lives as self-doubt and fractured trust. Reflect on your own smallest acts, each one a stone dropped into karma's well, its ripples spreading unseen. And what of those who suffer without cause? A child struck by illness, a family torn by disaster. Were they born into tragedy by virtue of sins long buried in the mists of memory? Or is the very notion of deserved suffering the cruelest blade of all? Philosophers argued, karma is not punishment, but learning. Yet what of lessons no soul consents to learn? What of cycles of pain repeated, like malignant echoes through lifetimes? Sense the weight of unwanted lessons, the despair of being forced to endure and to repeat. The threads tighten with every cycle. Forgiveness, they taught, could erase negative filaments, but who truly forgives the unseen sins of past lives? Confession and penance become rituals to lighten burdens, yet often they add new obligations, promises to perform good works in future existences. See the labyrinth of rituals. Each exit leads to another corridor in the maze. In monastic cells, seekers beat their bodies in penance, hoping to atone for offenses they cannot even recall. Yet their self-flagellation only breeds new strands of guilt, each lash a testimony to karma's unyielding claim. In worldly courts, judges imposed fines and sentences, echoes of karma's own decrees rehearsed in human language. But legal verdicts can end. Cosmic verdicts endure beyond death's door. Feel the irony in human justice mirroring divine coercion, both bound by the same unbreakable law. And so, the hidden chains wrap tighter. You act to relieve old debts, only to incur new ones. You strive to be better, only to be weighed by standards you did not choose. Your every effort becomes a link in the chain. Your every aspiration another spoke in the wheel. Breathe in the hush that follows this revelation, for karma's promise of balance conceals its true nature as bondage. Ahead lies the grim truth of endless striving, the illusion of spiritual progress, where each step forward is measured by distance yet to go. The trap closes still further, and only by naming the mechanism can you hope to break free. They whispered of ascent, a path of countless lives climbing ever upward, a ladder to the stars, rung by shining rungs of awakening. In the dawn of memory, the first seeker gazed skyward, dreaming of light beyond light, of a summit where the soul might rest. And so the promise was born. With each life you evolve. With each death you grow closer to the perfect truth. Breathe in the sweetness of that promise, a nectar drawn from hope. Yet in the quiet hours, a fragile doubt stirred. What if the summit drifts further still as you climb, ever climbing, yet never arriving? Imagine a staircase carved from mist, its top lost in swirling clouds. Each step feels solid beneath your foot, yet as you ascend, the next step appears, and the next, and the next, a spiral that coils around infinity. They called it progress, a grand design of evolution written in the stars, but every ascent cast a longer shadow behind. Every rung you grasped became a rung you feared to lose. Feel the vertigo beneath your feet, the dizziness of endless rising. In the libraries of old, scribes counted the stages of awakening: 3 lives to master compassion, 7 lives to conquer desire, 12 lives to transcend form. The numbers danced like incantations on vellum, a litany of ever-receding goals. And the seekers believed, each incarnation is a step closer, each soul more refined than the last. But refinement bore a price. For the more subtle your form, the less anchored you became. A spirit light as gossamer, adrift in the winds of karma. Listen to the echo of that fragility, a whisper lost on the breeze. In meditation caves, priests sat for decades, chiseling layers of ego away, but ego, it seemed, would not yield. As they peeled back one facet, another hardened in its place. In desert hermitages, mystics burned their scrolls of desire, hoping to free their hearts. Yet as the flames consumed each longing, new yearnings rose from the ashes. See the cycle of destruction and rebirth, like a phoenix that cannot die. And in the highest temples, where initiates drank the waters of illumination, they found the waters ever deeper, a well with no bottom. They whispered of the one life, a final incarnation beyond all others. But when it came, it was only another shade of becoming, another mirror in the hall of endless selves. Feel the weight of that mirror, reflecting a face that grows more distant with each glance. The trap lay hidden in the promise itself, to evolve without end, to perfect a self that never halts, to chase a horizon that retreats as you near it. And so the soul, once bright with curiosity, grows weary, a traveler lost on a path of infinite length. Each triumph dims as it passes, each victory consumed by the hunger for the next. Hear the lament of the weary soul, a song without conclusion. What if progress was never meant to be a ladder, but a circle, a spiral that returns upon itself until the traveler sees that the summit lies not above, but within? In that moment, when the seeker turns inward, the illusion shatters like glass, the mist clears, the ladder dissolves, and in the radiant stillness, the true journey begins. They spoke of liberation, yet found themselves within walls unseen, a prison built of mind and memory. Imagine a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow, its walls inscribed with the echoes of every thought you've ever held, every fear you've ever whispered in the dark. Breathe in the hush of that corridor, the hush that lingers after your own footsteps fade. From the moment you first believed in your past lives, chains began to coil around your psyche. Threads of guilt spun from deeds you cannot recall. Shackles forged from promises you cannot keep. A simple misstep, a harsh word long since forgotten, yet in that hidden archive, it shines with cruel clarity, an accusation uttered by your own soul. Feel the ghost of that word curling at the edge of your mind. They called it the fear of futures, a dread that in the next life, your suffering would be multiplied. A child born without sight, a mother bereft of laughter, a spirit doomed to wander in silence. This fear crept into dreams, a shadow perched at the foot of your bed, whispering of nameless torments to come. Let the darkness press close, yet breathe, for you remain in the world of the living. In quiet moments, the walls would shift, memories of distant epics cascading through the mind. You, a peasant in a flooded delta. You, a priest in a crumbling temple. You, a soldier bleeding beneath foreign skies. Each memory left a scar, a wound reopened with every recollection. Feel the ache of those old wounds, still pulsing beneath the surface. Counselors taught that to heal, one must embrace every past self, to gather their stories like sacred relics and lay them at your feet. Yet as each life was named, the prison grew larger. Corridors multiplying into a labyrinth of identities. Practices arose, meditations to detach from the past, breathwork to sever karmic ties, mantras to dissolve the I that held these echoes tight. But attachments once formed are not so easily broken. Each attempt to release them only tightened the bonds, as if the prison walls responded to every push by drawing closer still. Hear the echo of a door opening, only to reveal another corridor, darker than the last. And so the traveler wandered, seeking escape, yet stumbling deeper into the maze. Mind mapped after mind, life layered upon life, until the self became a tower of fractured mirrors, each reflection distorting the next. Fear of oblivion warred with fear of return, and in that stalemate, the soul remained captive. No gate opened wide enough, no key fit the lock forged in the fires of eternal belief. Feel the press of unseen bars, the chill of a cell that exists in thought alone. Some turned inward, still further into ecstatic trance, into visions of cosmic unity, yet found that even on the highest mountaintop of consciousness, the walls of the prison loomed, casting long shadows. Others sought release in denial, rejecting memories, denying past selves, erasing names from the scroll of eternity. But denial is its own chain, a refusal that binds the mind as surely as acceptance. Consider the paradox: to free yourself by denying the very bonds you seek to break. In the end, the psychological prison is woven not by gods nor demons, but by the fabric of belief itself. Each thought a brick, each memory a mortar, building cell by cell, lifetime by lifetime. Yet within this prison lies the secret of its undoing. For belief shapes walls, but belief can also dissolve them. Listen for the crack in the masonry, the single thought that questions every premise. And in that question, a door may open, but only if you dare to walk beyond the walls you have built. They spoke of the wheel, yet each culture placed the traveler in its own design, a mosaic of beliefs, each tile both guide and snare. In the shadowed sanctuaries of India, monks sat beneath banyan trees, whispering of moksha release from samsāra. They chanted verses from the Upanishads. In knowing the self, you transcend the cycle. Yet outside the walls, villagers painted their doors with lotus emblems, praying that their next birth would be kinder. Feel the murmurs of temple bells, echoing across rice paddies, drawing souls back into form. The Jain ascetic stretched until flesh thinned to a whisper, believing that by denying every comfort, he could shatter all bonds of karma. His skeleton shape became legend, proof that flesh is illusion. Yet in his bones lay a paradox. The more he denied the world, the more tightly the wheel seemed to turn around him. Hear the scrape of sandals on stone, a vow unbroken, yet freedom unreached. Across the mountains of Tibet, Lamas studied the Bardo Thodol, the Book of the Dead, guiding souls through liminal realms for 49 days. They taught that by reciting its verses aloud, one could choose rebirth or escape it. But in cold monasteries, novices whispered fear. What if you wander too long in the mist and lose your way? Feel the chill of high passes, the winds lament, carrying names of those who never returned. In ancient Greece, Pythagoreans held fast to metempsychosis, the soul's journey through beasts and men. They vowed vegetarian purity, fearing that each animal might hold a brother's spirit. Yet among them, some grew haunted by visions, flickers of past lives as wolves or swans, unwelcome memories that tore at waking peace. Sense the rustle of olive leaves, the ghost of wings brushing your shoulder. In Egypt, the Ka and Ba danced in tomb paintings, the Ka remaining near the coffin, feeding on offerings, the Ba flying free each night to converse with gods. Priests guarded spells in the Book of the Dead, hoping to guide the soul through demons and gates. Yet even in richly furnished tombs, many never awoke anew, their Ba lost in endless corridors of shadow. Smell the resin of frankincense, a promise of nourishment, yet no guarantee of passage. In Mesoamerica, the Maya painted death as a journey through 9 underworlds, each ruled by gods of fearsome aspect. They offered sacrifice shuni, jade, Mayasto propitiate the path, but when drought and war ravaged the land, those rites became hollow gestures, and the wheel turned unheeded in the dust. Feel the heat of sun-baked temples, a hunger for rain unfulfilled across generations. Across these cultures, a pattern emerges. Belief in rebirth offers hope, yet demands ever more devotion. Rituals to escape become rites that bend incense coils, mantras loop, and the soul, like a moth in flame, circles without release. Hear the refrain of every prayer, a melody that both uplifts and entraps. They called their doctrines liberation, moksha, nirvana, apokatastasis, but in each a hidden blade, conditions to meet, disciplines to maintain, purity to uphold. The traveler who faltered found himself cast back, a seed sown on barren soil, destined to sprout in hardship. Sense the weight of ancestral eyes, judging each misstep across lifetimes. And so, through the tapestry of human history, the trap took shape woven from faith, fear, and the longing for meaning. Each culture's promise of escape mirrored its own values and terrors, yet none truly shattered the cycle. Breathe in the dust of temples and caves. Know that cultural robes can adorn the wheel, but cannot free the soul wrapped within. Ahead lies the promise of true escape names of liberation that glimmer in the dark. But first, we must confront the cost of every vow made in fear of return. They spoke of liberation, a promise whispered on pilgrims' lips, a distant beacon beyond the wheel's unending turn. In the hush of dawn, seekers gathered around sacred fires, hoping the flames would carry their vows skyward. Let me taste moksha, grant me nirvana, release me from this forge of flesh. Breathe in the smoke of incense's sandalwood, myrrh, juniper, each tendril a prayer, each ember a plea. They offered the gods their finest silks and precious gems, hoping wealth could purchase freedom's key. They recited sutras until tongues ached, believing every syllable etched a path beyond rebirth. In the caverns of the Himalayas, they locked themselves in silence. Vows of speechlessness sealed lips like iron clasps. Breathing became a chantinhale, exhale a mantra to hush the mind's endless chatter. Feel the stillness behind the eyelids, a silence that sings in the heart. In students' hands, Scrolls of the Gita glowed by candlelight. Detach from desire, the verses proclaimed. Be a lotus rooted in mud, yet untouched by its mire. Yet each word they grasped seemed to slip like water through fingers. They called it moksha, release from the wheel, a single lifeline cast into the river of samsāra. Yet when they reached for it, it swayed beyond their grasp, reflected in ripples of doubt and longing. Hear the echo of water against stone, the soft lament of currents that cannot rest. In the chambers of Tibetan lamas, they chanted the name of Amitabha Buddha, hoping his vow to welcome all at death's door would ferry them to Sukhavati, a land of bliss where no wheel turns, no suffering stirs. They painted mandalas of sandintricate worlds built to be swept away, a fleeting metaphor for impermanence. Yet each grain of sand labored under prayers for permanence beyond death. See the mandala's colors swirl, a universe built and unbuilt in a single breath. In Christian monasteries, they spoke of apokatastasis, the cosmic return of all souls to the Father's heart. I will ransom every spark of life, they cried, until even Satan himself rejoices in redemption. They fasted, they knelt, they wrote confessions in blood-red ink, trusting in a love so vast it must eventually embrace every wanderer. Feel the weight of those confessions, ink scribed with hope and anguish. Yet for every vow the cycle persisted. A soul achieved fleeting blazes of rapture, only to drift back into flesh. A monk glimpsed the light, then returned to chant again. A devotee tasted the nectar of divine union, but it evaporated at dawn's first light. They called these returns testrials to deepen faith. Yet for many, the promise of escape became another snare, another layer of longing piled upon the stack of lifetimes. Hear the hollow ring of promise unmet, a bell whose toll fades before its echo dies. And in the quiet aftermath, some dared to ask, is release truly a gift, or another chain forged by hope? Their questions shivered through temple halls, rattling doors of doctrine once thought immovable. Breathe in the tremor of doubt, for doubt is the midwife of truth. Beyond the promises lies the final paradox: to seek escape within a system whose very rules demand endless seeking, to grasp liberation as though it were an object, when perhaps liberation is the very act of letting go. And in that letting go, a new path emerges, silent, invisible, unchained. They speak of reincarnation now, in neon glow, in internet forums and glossy paperbacks, a matte promise wrapped in digital dreams. In sleek studios, spiritual coaches guide clients through past life regressions, hypnotic spirals playing on widescreen TVs. Voices soft as velvet. You were a healer in Atlantis, a warrior in ancient Rome, a mystic in Lemuria. Breathe in the glow of the screen. Its flicker promising worlds you've never known. They sell courses in quick karma clearance, 12 weekly modules to dissolve lifetimes of error. Unlock your soul's hidden potential in just 3 easy steps. In shopping malls, crystal shops line corridors, tumbled stones etched with Sanskrit mantras, pendulums twirling above velvet cloths, bright cards shuffled and spread, your past life identity revealed. Feel the weight of the pendulum's swing, rhythmic, hypnotic, insistent. Well-known gurus tout celebrity endorsements. Oprah discovered she was an Egyptian priestess. Beyoncé's soul hovers between Viking raider and Renaissance artisan. Testimonials glow next to photos of smiling customers, each one clutching a certificate of soul certification. With slick apps, you upload your fingerprint, your photo, your birth chart. Algorithms were as tarot cards shuffle, past life profiles generated in milliseconds. You fought in the Crusades. You danced in Moulin Rouge. You saved lives as a 19th century surgeon. Listen to the hum of servers calculating your soul's resume. They promise liberation through brand name retreats. Rebirth Reset in Bali, $2,999 all, inclusive. Soul Cycle in Sedona, $1. 499 plus airfare. Yoga mats and chanting bowls provided sacred souvenirs inscribed with "Free Your Past." Yet as participants return, their faces bright with afterglow, many confess a strange restlessness. Another lifetime uncovered another story to solve, another craving for the next revelation. In academic circles, psychologists raise alarms. This commodification turns deep existential journeys into consumer experiences. Studies show clients often conflate guided imagery with factual memory, crafting past lives that mirror present yearnings. Feel the tension between hope and hype, a sepia-toned photograph blurred around the edges. Among New Age thinkers, some rebel. Reincarnation need not be endless, they argue. Reality is holographic. Choose your lifetime like a role in a play. Workshops teach soul scripting, each participant drafting a 5-year plan that begins in the next life. Yet critics point out the paradox. To treat reincarnation as a business model, selling fast-track enlightenment as though it were a streaming service, is to reduce sacred mystery to a subscription. Hear the echo of ancient temples, now supplanted by co-working spaces and influencer podcasts. In hidden corners of the internet, skeptics gather. Reincarnation was never meant to be a gift, they whisper. Its modern revival is the bellows that stoke its trap. They draw parallels to medieval indulgences, pay to erase a lifetime of sin. Confessional tithes repackaged as karma clearance kits, mirrors held up to human weakness, reflecting our longing for quick absolution. Sense the irony in selling forgiveness, as if liberation were an item on an online menu. And yet, amid the glitter and the glitterati, a few voices rise clear. The true path lies not in new lifetimes, but in waking fully within this one. They speak of presence over past, of awakening over accumulation, of depth over expansion. Breathe out the neon haze. Let the digital echoes fade. For beyond the rebrands and repackaging, the ancient trap endures, waiting for souls to chase their tails through lifetimes yet unborn. But now, more than ever, choice stands in your hands, to scroll onward or to close the page and step into the real here now, liberated from every past and every promise. They showed you the wheel, a circle of births without end, a ladder that climbs only to slip from your grasp, a maze of mirrors, each reflection another self to be born forever. Breathe in the stillness that gathers where the wheel's turning slows. What if freedom lies not in the next life, but in this one breath, this single moment, charged with all your longing and release? Imagine the wheel dissolving like mist at dawn, its spokes unspooling into ribbons of light that drift away. No jailer stands at the hub, no ledger holds your name in cosmic ink. Feel the emptiness beneath your feet, the solid ground of now. Across traditions, they named it differently: Akyam, the unity of being; Sahaja, the natural state, present, moment awakening. Bare awareness without beginning or end. Monks of old chanted its name in caves, yet their voices were lost in the echo of doctrines. Hear the echo fade, a silence unbroken by belief. In the heart of ancient India, sages spoke of Sahaja Samadhi, a meditation so effortless that thought itself ceases to roam. No more climbing, no more spiraling, only the still point where all opposites merge. In the deserts of Sinai, prophets glimpsed a burning bush, an encounter that blazed with immediacy, yet asked no price of future lives. "Here I am," the voice said, and presence answered presence. Let the flame flicker in your mind, a light that needs no kindling. In Zen monasteries, masters struck students with a stick, a single blow to jar the mind awake. No past, no future, they taught, just this clap of reality resonating through silence. Feel the echo of the stick, a thunder that dissolves all time. They called it liberation, not a gift to be earned, but the uncovering of what was never lost, a jewel buried beneath layers of hope and fear, revealed when desire drops away. Breathe out your last wish and rest in the space left behind. In the stillness, you see, the trap was never built to hold you. You built it yourself with bricks of longing, mortared with belief. Now, the bricks crumble at your touch. The walls fall inward, unveiling the sky. No gate bars your path. No path, remains only the vast expanse of being. Gaze upward. Witness freedom unfurl like wings. The true escape lies not in another life, but in seeing this life as final, rich with unrepeatable moments, to taste the sweetness of each breath, to hear the music in each heartbeat, to know that now is enough. Let your pulse be a hymn, your breath a prayer without words. Beyond the trap, you stand unchained, a soul neither bound nor returning, shining with the clarity of here and now. And in that clarity, the wheel turns no more.